My name is Rachel Morrison, and I thought I knew my family until the day my grandmother's will was read. For years, my golden child brother Marcus had everything handed to him: the best education, the family business connections, and eventually our grandmother's entire fortune. Meanwhile, I worked double shifts as a nurse, barely making ends meet, wondering why I was always the forgotten one. But when Marcus arrogantly drove away from the lawyer's office in his brand new Tesla, celebrating his massive inheritance, I discovered a sealed envelope that would turn our family's world upside down. What I found inside revealed a shocking secret about our family's past, and a truth so devastating it would strip Marcus of everything he thought was his. Some secrets are buried for a reason, but when they surface, justice has a way of finding its path. Subscribe to our channel to never miss incredible stories of revenge, justice, and personal redemption. Every day, we publish new stories of people who transformed pain into triumph. Hit the notification bell. My name is Rachel Morrison, and I never thought a single envelope could destroy someone's entire world until I held one in my trembling hands that cold December morning. The law office smelled like old leather and broken dreams as I sat in the uncomfortable wooden chair, watching my brother Marcus fidget with his Rolex. At 28, he still carried himself like the golden child he'd always been: perfectly styled hair, designer suit, and that smug smile that had gotten him out of trouble since we were kids. I, on the other hand, sat there in my best dress, which was really just a Target special I'd bought on clearance, my hands still bearing the faint scent of hospital disinfectant from my nursing shift the night before. "Thank you both for coming, Mr. Henderson," our grandmother's lawyer said solemnly. He was a man in his 70s with kind eyes that had seen too many family feuds over inheritance. "As you know, your grandmother, Pearl Morrison, was very specific about her final wishes." My heart clenched at the mention of Grandma. Pearl. She'd raised us after our parents died in that car accident, when I was 12 and Marcus was 15. She'd been our everything, our protector, our guidance, our home. Losing her 3 months ago had left a hole in my chest that still ached every morning when I woke up. Marcus leaned forward eagerly. "Just get to the numbers, Henderson." "I've got a meeting with potential investors at 2. I shot him a disgusted look. Even at our grandmother's will reading, he couldn't show an ounce of respect or emotion. But that was Marcus. Everything was about business, about money, about what he could gain. Mr. Henderson cleared his throat and opened the official-looking folder. Pearl Morrison's estate, valued at approximately $4.2 million, including the family home, investments, and business assets, is to be distributed as follows. My stomach churned. I knew what was coming. Marcus had always been Grandma Pearl's favorite, or so it seemed. He was the one who got the college fund, the one who got help with his first apartment, the one who got invited to those fancy family friend dinners where business connections were made. To Marcus Morrison, I leave the sum of $100. The silence in the room was deafening. Marcus's face went from smug confidence to complete shock in a matter of seconds. "What?" he sputtered. "There must be some mistake." $100? "That's impossible." Mr. Henderson continued without missing a beat. "To my granddaughter, Rachel Morrison, I leave the remainder of my estate, including all properties, investments, and personal belongings, with the following stipulation: she must read the contents of the sealed envelope in my safe deposit box before claiming her inheritance." I felt like the world had tilted off its axis. The remainder of the estate? That meant nearly $4 million? It was impossible. There had to be some mistake. Marcus shot to his feet, his chair scraping loudly against the hardwood floor. "This is ridiculous. Grandma Pearl promised me that business partnership money. She said the house would be mine. Rachel's just a nurse who barely visits?" "That's not true," I whispered, finding my voice. "I visited her every Tuesday after my shifts. I helped her with her medications, her grocery shopping, her—" "Shut up!" Marcus's face was red with rage. "You manipulated her, poisoned her mind against me when she was sick and vulnerable." Mr. Henderson held up his hand. "Please, both of you. These were your grandmother's wishes, documented legally and witnessed properly. Marcus, your inheritance is $100 plus this note." He handed Marcus a small folded paper. My brother snatched it and read quickly, his face growing paler with each word. Without another word, he crumpled the note and stormed toward the door. "This isn't over, Rachel," he hissed. "I'll contest this will. I'll drag this through court for years. You don't deserve a penny of that money." The door slammed behind him with such force that the family photos on Mr. Henderson's desk rattled. Through the window, I watched Marcus climb into his shiny black Tesla, the one he'd bought just last month with money from God knows where, and peel out of the parking lot like a spoiled child having a tantrum. I'm sorry you, had to witness that, Mr. Henderson said gently. Family disputes over inheritance can bring out the worst in people. I was still staring out the window in shock. Mr. Henderson, I don't understand. Why would Grandma Pearl leave me everything? Marcus was always her favorite. She helped him through college, gave him business connections, bought him his first car. The lawyer's expression grew thoughtful. Rachel, sometimes what we perceive as favoritism is actually something much more complicated. Your grandmother was a very wise woman. She saw things clearly, even when others didn't. He reached into his desk drawer and pulled out a small key attached to a manila envelope. This is the key to safe deposit box 247 at First National Bank. The sealed envelope inside contains information your grandmother wanted you to have before claiming your inheritance. She was very specific about this. You must read it alone, and you must read it completely. My hands shook as I took the key. The manila envelope felt heavier than it should have, like it was carrying the weight of secrets. What if? What if what's in there changes everything? I asked. Mr. Henderson smiled sadly. Your grandmother believed that truth, no matter how painful, was always better than living a lie. She loved you both, Rachel, but she understood the difference between love and enabling. As I left the law office, my mind was spinning. $4 million. Me. The granddaughter who worked double shifts, who drove a 15-year-old Honda, who shopped at thrift stores and clipped coupons. It felt like someone else's life. But what scared me more than the money was that envelope. Grandma Pearl had been intentional about everything. If she wanted me to read something before claiming my inheritance, it meant whatever was inside would change everything I thought I knew about our family. I drove to First National Bank in a daze, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles were white. The key felt like it was burning a hole in my pocket. What do you think could be in that envelope that would make my grandmother leave nearly everything to me instead of Marcus? Have you ever discovered a family secret that changed your entire perspective on your loved ones? If you're enjoying this story of hidden family secrets and unexpected inheritance drama, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. We share new stories every day about people who discovered life-changing truths about their families. But what I found in that safe deposit box would reveal a truth so shocking, it would not only explain my grandmother's decision, but completely destroy the image Marcus had built of himself. The envelope contained more than just words. It contained proof of a betrayal that went back years, and evidence that would make Marcus's $100 inheritance look like generous compared to what he actually deserved. The fluorescent lights in the bank's safe deposit box room buzzed overhead as I sat alone with the sealed envelope, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The key had turned easily in the lock of box 247, and inside had been this single manila envelope with my name written in Grandma Pearl's careful handwriting. For Rachel, the truth about our family. My hands trembled as I broke the wax seal. Inside were several documents, photographs, and a handwritten letter that made my blood run cold as I read the first few lines. My dearest Rachel, if you are reading this, then I am gone, and you have learned about your inheritance. I know you must be confused about why I left nearly everything to you and almost nothing to Marcus. The truth is something I should have told you both years ago, but I was protecting you from a pain I thought you didn't need to bear. However, recent events have made it clear that the truth must come out. Marcus is not your biological brother. The letter slipped from my fingers and fluttered to the floor. Not my biological brother? That was impossible. We'd grown up together after our parents died. We shared the same last name, the same... I grabbed the letter again, reading frantically. After your parents died, I discovered something that changed everything I thought I knew about our family. Your father, my son David, had been having an affair for several years before the accident. Marcus is the product of that affair. He is not your mother Jennifer's son. The woman your father was involved with was named Sandra Walsh. She was married to a wealthy businessman and couldn't afford a scandal. When she became pregnant with Marcus, your father agreed to raise him as his own, telling your mother that Marcus was his nephew who needed a home after his parents died overseas. Your mother, being the kind soul she was, welcomed Marcus without question. I felt sick. All those years, All those times I'd wondered why Marcus looked nothing like me, why he seemed to get different treatment, why Grandma Pearl sometimes looked at him with such a complicated expression. I kept this secret because I wanted to protect you both. But in recent months, I discovered that Marcus has been forging my signature on financial documents, stealing money from my accounts to fund his lifestyle and business ventures. He has taken over $300,000 from me in the past 2 years alone. My hands were shaking so violently I could barely hold the letter. Marcus had been stealing from Grandma Pearl. While I'd been working double shifts to help pay for her medications and groceries, thinking we were both struggling financially, he'd been robbing her. I have included bank statements, copies of the forged documents, and other evidence in this envelope. I also hired a private investigator to document his activities. The photos are difficult to look at, but necessary. I set the letter down and picked up a stack of bank statements. There, highlighted in yellow, were dozens of transactions. Withdrawals of $5,000, $10,000, sometimes $15,000 at a time, all with Marcus's signature, except the handwriting analysis report, paper-clipped to the statements, showed they were forgeries of Grandma Pearl's signature, the private. Investigators' photos were even worse. Marcus at expensive restaurants, buying luxury watches, gambling at a casino 2 states over, making payments on that Tesla I'd seen him drive away in earlier. All while Grandma Pearl had been rationing her heart medication because she said it was too expensive. The letter continued. I confronted Marcus about the theft last month. He didn't deny it. Instead, he told me that he deserved the money because he was a Morrison and had big plans that would pay me back eventually. When I told him I was going to cut him out of my will, he laughed and said he'd contest it anyway because he was family and I was just a senile old woman. That's when I decided to tell you the truth about everything. Marcus has no legal claim to our family name or our family money. He is not a Morrison by blood, and his actions have proven he is not a Morrison by character either. Tears were streaming down my face now. Grandma Pearl had carried this burden alone, protecting a secret that wasn't even hers to keep, all while being stolen from by the person she'd tried to love as her own. Grandson, I have set aside the $100 for Marcus because that is approximately what remains of the money he hasn't stolen from me. The rest of my estate goes to you because you are my true granddaughter, not just by blood but by actions. You worked extra shifts to help with my expenses. You visited me when I was lonely. You held my hand during those scary hospital visits. But most importantly, Rachel, you have integrity. You've never asked me for money, never expected handouts, never felt entitled to what you didn't earn. You are everything your father and your mother would have wanted you to become. The final paragraph made me sob openly. I know this information will be painful, and I know Marcus will be angry when he eventually learns the truth. But I need you to understand that keeping this secret was slowly killing me. Every time I saw him take advantage of your kindness, every time I watched him expect special treatment while you struggled, every time he stole from me while you sacrificed to help me, it broke my heart a little more. Use this inheritance to build the life you deserve, my dear girl. And if Marcus contests the will or causes you trouble, show him these documents. Show him that he has no moral or legal right to claim Morrison money, Morrison property, or even the Morrison name. I love you more than you'll ever know. Your grandmother, Pearl P.S. The combination to my home safe is your birthday. Inside, you'll find additional documentation and one more surprise that I hope will help you understand how proud I am of the woman you've become. I sat in that sterile bank room for another 20 minutes, going through every document. The evidence was overwhelming. Bank statements showing systematic theft, forged signatures that weren't even good forgeries, photos of Marcus living lavishly while Grandma Pearl ate generic cereal for dinner. But the most damning document was a letter Marcus had written to some business associate, boasting about how easy it was to manipulate the old lady and how he'd be rich soon enough when she died. The letter was dated just 6 weeks ago. As I drove home from the bank, my phone rang. Marcus's name flashed on the screen, and against my better judgment, I answered. Rachel, we need to talk. His voice was calmer now, calculated. Look, I was upset earlier. Maybe we can work something out. I'll split the inheritance with you 50-50. That's fair, right? We're both family. I pulled over to the side of the road, my hands shaking with rage. Marcus, did you steal money from Grandma Pearl? The silence on the other end was telling. Finally, he laughed, actually laughed. Steal? Rachel, that's such an ugly word. I borrowed some money for investments. I was going to pay her back when my business deals came through. $300,000, Marcus. You forged her signature dozens of times. Another pause. How did you? Never mind. Look, Rachel, you don't understand business. Sometimes you have to take calculated risks. Grandma Pearl had more money than she needed anyway. She was rationing her heart medication because she thought she couldn't afford it. That's not my fault. If she was too proud to ask for help, I hung up on him. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. What would you do if you discovered that someone you'd considered family had been stealing from your elderly grandmother while you struggled to help pay for her care? How do you process learning that your entire family history was built on a lie? If this story is hitting you in the emotions, don't forget to subscribe and share it with others who might need to hear about justice finally being served. We post new incredible true stories every single day because Marcus had no idea what I discovered in that envelope. He had no idea that I now held proof of every theft, every forgery, every cruel conversation he'd had about our grandmother. And he definitely had no idea that I was about to visit Grandma Pearl's house to open that safe, where one final surprise waited. A surprise that would ensure Marcus never bothered me about inheritance money ever again. The key to Grandma. Pearl's house still felt familiar in my hands as I unlocked the front door of the small Victorian home where Marcus and I had grown up. The house smelled like her lavender sachets and the faint aroma of the apple cinnamon candles she'd burned every evening. Walking through those rooms felt like stepping back in time, except now everything looked different through the lens of truth. I made my way to her bedroom, to the antique armoire where she'd kept her safe hidden behind a false back panel. My birthday, October 15th, 10:15. The safe door swung open with a soft click. Inside were more documents as promised, but also something I didn't expect. A thick manila folder labeled "For Rachel's Future" and a small velvet jewelry box. My heart was pounding as I opened the folder first. The papers inside took my breath away. Stock certificates, bond papers, and investment documents I'd never known existed. But it wasn't just the financial documents that shocked me. It was the handwritten notes attached to each one, all in Grandma Pearl's careful script, purchased with money I saved by not giving Marcus his monthly allowances. $50,000 in tech stocks, sold. My mother's china set instead of giving it to Marcus for his apartment. Deposit. Invested $15,000 in bonds. Money I pretended I didn't have when Marcus asked for his business loan. $75,000 in mutual funds. Afterpage revealed the same pattern. For years, Grandma Pearl had been telling Marcus she couldn't afford to help him with various schemes and requests, then secretly investing that money in my name. The portfolio was worth over $800,000, money that had been set aside for me long before she'd even changed her will. But the jewelry box contained something even more precious. Inside was my mother's engagement ring, the one I'd thought was lost in the accident, along with another letter. Rachel, this was your mother Jennifer's ring. I saved it for you, even though Marcus asked for it multiple times over the years, saying he wanted to propose to various girlfriends. I knew your mother would want her real daughter to have it, not the child of your father's affair, but there's something else you need to know. After I learned the truth about Marcus, I hired an attorney to research his legal status. Because your father never legally adopted him, and because he is not a biological Morrison, Marcus has been using our family name illegally for years. His birth certificate lists him as Marcus Walsh, his biological mother's name. He changed it to Morrison informally when he moved in with us, but there was never any legal adoption process. This means every contract he's signed, every business deal he's made, every legal document using the Morrison name has been done under false pretenses. I've documented all of this for you. If he ever tries to claim he deserves Morrison money or property, you can legally force him to stop using our family name entirely. My phone buzzed with a text message. Marcus, I'm coming over to the house. We're going to settle this like family. I quickly gathered all the documents and put them in a bag. I wasn't ready to face him yet, but apparently I didn't have a choice. Through the front window, I could see his black Tesla pulling into the driveway. He walked in without knocking, like he owned the place. His earlier calm demeanor was gone, replaced by barely controlled rage. Where are they? He demanded. Where are what? Don't play games with me, Rachel. The documents. Whatever Grandma Pearl left for you that made her change her will. I know she left you something else, and I want to see it. I clutched my bag tighter. Marcus, you need to leave. This isn't your house anymore. He laughed bitterly. Not my house? I grew up here too. I lived here for 13 years. This is just as much my childhood home as yours. Actually, I said, surprised by the steadiness in my own voice, it's not. Because you're not legally a Morrison, and you never were. His face went completely white. What are you talking about? I know about Sandra Walsh. I know Dad had an affair, and I know you're not my mother's son. I also know you've been stealing from Grandma Pearl for years. For a moment, Marcus looked like he might collapse. Then his expression hardened into something I'd never seen before, pure, calculating hatred. You vindictive little bitch, he snarled. So what if I took some money? She had millions. I deserved it after everything I put up with in this family. Do you know what it's like growing up knowing you're not really wanted? You were wanted, I shot back. Grandma Pearl raised you, loved you, treated you like family even after she found out the truth. And you repaid her by stealing from her. She owed me, Marcus shouted. Do you know what I gave up to be a Morrison? I could have had a relationship with my real mother, could have inherited from the Walsh family fortune, but instead I got stuck with you people. Then why did you stay? Why did you keep taking Morrison money if being part of our family was such a burden? He smiled coldly. Because I earned it. Every fake family dinner, every time I had to pretend to care about that old woman's stories, every time I had to act like your pathetic little life mattered, I earned every penny I took. The cruelty in his voice made me physically ill. This wasn't grief or desperation talking. This was who Marcus really was underneath all the charm and manipulation. Get out, I said quietly. I'm not going anywhere. This is my house too, and I'm not leaving until you agree to split that inheritance. I don't care what those papers say. I'll drag this through court for years. I'll make your life hell. No, you won't, I said, pulling out my phone. Because I'm about to call the police and show them evidence of your systematic theft from an elderly woman. Did you know that financial elder abuse is a felony? Especially when it involves forgery and amounts over $300,000. Marcus's confident expression faltered. You wouldn't do that. We're family. We were never family, I said, and for the first time I meant it. Family doesn't steal from each other. Family doesn't manipulate elderly grandmothers. And family definitely doesn't use fake names to commit fraud. I held up the birth certificate I'd found in Grandma Pearl's safe. Your real name is Marcus Walsh. You've been using the Morrison name illegally for over a decade. Every contract you've signed, every business deal, every legal document, all of it is fraudulent. The fight went out of him all at once. He slumped against the wall, looking older than his 28 years. What do you want? He asked quietly. I want you to disappear, I said. I want you to stop using our family name. I want you to never contact me again. And I want you to pay back every penny you stole from Grandma Pearl. Not to me, but to the elderly care charity she supported. And if I don't? I held up my phone. Then I make these calls. Police first, then the IRS, then every business partner and client you've ever worked with under the Morrison name. Your choice. Marcus stared at me for a long moment, and I saw the exact instant he realized he had lost completely. There was no charm, no manipulation, no legal loophole that was going to save him. Fine, he said finally. But don't expect any gratitude. You're destroying the only family you have left. No, I corrected him. You destroyed this family the moment you decided our grandmother's love wasn't enough. You needed her money too. After he left, I sat in Grandma Pearl's living room and cried, not from sadness, but from relief. The truth was finally out. The lies were over. And for the first time in my life, I understood why I'd always felt like something was wrong with our family dynamic. 6 months later, I used part of my inheritance to pay off my student loans and buy a small house in a better neighborhood. Marcus did repay the money he'd stolen, though he had to sell his Tesla and move back in with his biological mother to do it. He legally changed his name back to Marcus Walsh and hasn't contacted me since. I started a foundation in Grandma Pearl's name to help elderly people who are being financially abused by family members. Every week, I get letters from people who have discovered similar betrayals, and I'm able to help them find legal resources and emotional support. But the most surprising thing was the peace that came with knowing the truth. Growing up, I'd always felt like I was competing for love and attention in my own family. Now I understand that I was never competing at all. I was just the only real family member there. What would you have done in my situation? Have you ever discovered that someone you trusted was taking advantage of your family? Let me know in the comments below. If this story touched you, please subscribe to our channel and share it with others. We believe that truth, no matter how painful, is always better than living a lie. And sometimes, justice does prevail. It just takes a brave person willing to stand up for what's right. The inheritance money was life-changing, but the real gift Grandma Pearl left me was the truth about who I really am, and the strength to build a life based on integrity rather than deception. Sometimes the greatest revenge is simply living well and helping others do the same. Tentar novamente.